folded rock strata. How did that happen? You can't bend limestone and sandstone. It just doesn't work. The evolutionary long age explanation can't explain that. All three of these explanations would explain that because they were liquid when they were crushed. Here's an interesting one. Here's a person. There's a block of granite. Here's the strata. And if you look, you'll see flow marks around that. Now, where do you get flow marks? From water. And we just talked about the runoff carved out the world. And so those are the explanations for creationist explanations for how the world was reshaped during the flood. And in the book we talked about where are all the transitional animals. If there was evolution, and there was evolution working today, we would not see kinds or species the way we do. What you would see would be a gradual transition from one kind to another. You would see, for instance, if reptiles evolved into birds, you would see a reptile and a bird, a quarter bird and a three-quarter reptile, a half reptile, a half bird, three-quarters bird, one-quarter reptile, and all bird. You would see that with every creature, not just reptiles and birds. You'd also see it with humans. We should be seeing half apes, half humans, if evolution really worked. And in fact, there would be more of those transitional forms for natural selection to work than there would be stable forms. Darwin said that record, which was sparse in 1859, fossil record, would vindicate his theory. Guess what? It hasn't. We only see stable forms. There is no universally recognized transitional fossils. Some are touted as transitional fossils, but half the evolutionists don't believe it. Okay? Everything. Fossil record living today should mostly be transitional forms too. Evolutionists recognize this is a real problem, and that's why they jump with joy every time somebody finds a piece of a skull cap or half a femur and says, aha, there's the missing link to the humans. But almost every time, not almost, every time, something's found about it that disputes that. And whenever you see these diagrams, the only real organisms are at the tips of these trees, and everything else, all the other lines, are just pure speculation. For instance, the horse evolution is still published in textbooks and taught, even though it's been proven false, and the lack of transitional fossils is best explained by a rapid burial. And let's take a look at the horse thing, right? You've all seen this one, right? Well, the only ones that are real are these animals right here. And all the lines are imaginary. And in fact, Dr. Niles Eldridge, who's the curator of the American Museum of National History, says, we know it's false, it's still put in textbooks, what can I say? These are the actual organisms, okay? And these are the imaginary paths. They're just speculation, pure speculation. There are no fossils in between, and besides which, we can't tell if this really turned into that anyway, if evolution did occur, because there's no DNA and there are no birth certificates, or pedigrees in this case. So, these things are really bogus. These are really philosophical and faith statements. Okay? We talked about that. Actually, what happened was that the rapid burial of waterborne sediment all looks like cement was dumped on an organism, right? And that we know dead organisms are recycled quickly. Bivalves are found by the billions, almost always, without exception, found in a closed living position, which means something had a dump on them like cement, and it was fast-acting cement because they're closed. They didn't have enough time to die. And we also see a fish eating other fish, and animals fossilized while in the act of giving birth. And almost all the intact ones are in a position that looks like this, with the extended back and in the position of asphyxiation. And there are many polystrate fossils. That means they go up through many, many layers of strata, and if you didn't look at the fossil, the polystrate fossil, you'd say, oh, that's a 10,000 or 100,000 old layer of strata. And we talked about rapid fossilization during the flood. Critters were dumped, lots of cement dumped on them, and it hardened, and eventually today, our own erosion and earthquakes are exposing these fossils. But take a look, there's a fish. You can see the asphyxiation posture. Here's one that's eating another fish. I mean, that didn't happen over a long time. Okay. And cement dumped on the organization. Jellyfish. Okay. How do you preserve a jellyfish? There ain't much to a jellyfish. And look at the trilobite. We could tell the details of their eyes. The fish have scales and eye detail. Bivalves are buried with shells closed. Fish eating other fish. And here's an ichthyosaur giving birth to its young. All of this happened almost instantaneously. Something caught these critters at the moment of life. And a rapid burial is the best explanation. Here's polystrate fossils. Look at these polystrate fossils. Here's a real tree. Look at these polystrate fossils. Now, a human would be about half the height of that. And these are found all over the world, but not found in textbooks. Okay? Why do you think they're not found in textbooks?
Because even a sixth grader could figure out something screwy about that.
There's something screwy about that story. You'll never find it. And by the way, these are club moss. Okay, club moss, ferns. You know, and these are giant club ferns before the flood. Okay? Something uprooted these things, and you can see the flow patterns here. See the flow patterns? That's a water flow pattern. Cambrian explosion. This is supposed to be 500 million years ago, and all major groups, or phyla, are found in the Cambrian explosion, what they call the Cambrian explosion. Evolutionists don't understand it. All the major vertebrates are here, invertebrates. There are, in the rock layers above the Cambrian, there are no new different body plans that appear. That's kind of interesting. And it's an enigma to the Darwin and today. And according to the Scientific American, this is the evolutionary biology's deepest paradox. Why, at the beginning, was everything already there? But it's best explained by a rapid burial of the lower dwelling sea life forms in the Genesis flood. You've heard of punctuated evolution? You ever hear that? That's the Stephen Jay Gould candidly admits fossil records only show stasis, equilibrium of life forms, and the predicted wealth of transitional forms isn't found anywhere. So Gould and Eldridge developed a punctuated equilibrium hypothesis, basically vast evolutionary ages. For most of the time, there's no change. But something happens, there's big stressor that happens, and everything changes. Like overnight, we have all this evolution occurring. It's almost like a dinosaur laid an egg and a bird hatched out. That kind of evolution. And it's so rapid that it leaves no record. And that's why there are no transitional forms. This sounds like a fairy tale. Sort of like the dog ate my homework, but at a college level. And what do we have? Okay, so billions of creatures are buried, vast sediment lava flows covering thousands of square miles, precisely fitting flat layers, creatures buried in living positions. Most positions show them in suffocation. Jumbled fossils, billions of jumbled fossils in distribution by kinds, basically bottom dwellers at the bottom and mobile ones at the top. And the geologic column is is best explained by the Genesis flood. And the reason we don't hear that is because people willfully forget. This is an act of the will. Because these people do not want a creator.